back. I decided to post this video in a separate playlist. I'm going to start one for scratch-built buildings. It's kind of separate, not really a true layout update. So kind of like the kit build series, this will be a new scratch build series. And starting off very simple. What I did was I decided to build a storage shed for the house scene. Didn't have one that I liked that looked like a modern, you know, the type you might pick up at a Lowe's or a Home Depot or some of those custom shed manufacturers you see along, you know, various locations. None of them that I could see commercially looked right. So I decided just to basically cobble something together. Again, it's a real simple start. It isn't the finest handiwork in the world, but for the viewing distance it's going to be at, I think some of the not errors, but some of the techniques used and materials used will be fine. I go through in the video, it's going to sound like it's part of another update, and it was going to be. That's why I'm making this little introduction, just to kind of let you know that I'm going to make it a standalone video. And it won't be part of a regular layout update. It'll be part of this scratch-built playlist series. Again, starting simple. It's just a little simple shed, a 10 by 10 shed. That you'll see how I found the information on at Lowe's.com. Got a picture and tried to model it as close as I could. So, again, not the greatest thing. Not meant to be a masterpiece. Just meant to be. And I'm kind of going to zoom back here so you kind of get an idea, you know, how that kit will actually be viewed. You know, this is kind of the normal viewing distance from this side. So some of the crudeness and the fact that I use probably trim that's a little bit too large, and I probably should have sanded it a little bit better, The roof isn't perfect. I cover all that in the video. But you can kind of see, you know, the impression I was trying to create was just a storage shed. And it's one of those things, if you do it right, it just kind of blends in and doesn't really draw attention to itself other than it looks like it belongs. That's what I was going for. So we'll start this off. It is a simple scratch build, but it is scratch built. It's totally scratch built. So I decided to make it a separate one. So it's going to be about, I don't know, it'll probably be a 15-minute video. Again, I want to keep it out of the regular update. So new playlist, new series will be for scratch building stuff. Not that I'll have a whole lot of scratch built buildings, but this certainly is. So here we go. Number one, scratch building a small storage shed. All right, like I said, one of the things I'm trying to do here is build a little shed. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, so I'm trying to whip something together here. So I went to Lowe's.com, and there's the shed I'm building. I'm going to say, hey, they just bought this shed. It's 10 by 10, roughly about 10 foot tall with just about 5 foot doors. They're actually a little bit bigger than that, but in HO scale, I just made them 5 foot. You know, I'm not going to worry about exactly what they are. So what I did was I made a little base here that is roughly 10 by 10. And the real building isn't truly 10 by 10. It's 10 by a little bit less than 10, but whatever. So that's my little base. And then I cut out walls. Oh, for the siding, I'm using some, you can see what that is there. It is, where do I have that stuff here? Trying to find out the right size. That's what I used? Yeah. So this is it from Northeast. 3/32 scribe by a 32nd thick. That's basically what it is. It looked, you know, relatively close. You know, you're just counting how many. It isn't exactly the same. It's not quite right, but counting how many, you know, slats or whatever you want to call it there are. You know, up the side there's 15 of them. And along this side, there's about 15 of them. So they came close. All right, close enough. All right, so I have these built. I braced them. The bottom brace there is set so that when the walls sit, that's probably not going to be visible, but they sit up just a little bit because here, if you look, the walls sit up a little bit above the base. So that base, I actually made it a little bit bigger. So part of it's up here, so when I bring the sides down, it gives me something to glue to. So these are the 4 pieces, or 5 pieces. The front, 2 sides, and the back. The angles are approximate. I just kind of drew it up here on paper and measured some stuff and just cut it out so it looked, so it looked okay. We'll see when it's done. I don't think it's perfect, but whatever. And again, this is the type of thing that if it's done right, I hate to say this, if it's done right, people don't really notice it because it just looks so normal. A lot of times as model railroaders, we're so interested in modeling the unusual and the bizarre and the wow type stuff that we overlook the everyday, run-of-the-mill normal stuff that really is much, much more prevalent. All right, anyway, so these are the doors. Then what I'll do for the doors here is I'll go ahead and put some of the trim around them. It's pretty simple. The two doors, they're trimmed out, basically a couple boxes on them. And then around the outside, there's just 3 pieces of trim on the outside of the door that I will do on that piece there. And I'll go ahead and put the trim pieces on. I think I have roughly the right scale size lumber for that. Oops, sorry. I think. I'll get close. If not, I might have to buy some. But I'm trying to get this done. So far, I've only spent about maybe an hour and a half on this. So that's something I'm trying to cobble together quick. So now what I'm going to do is kind of glue it together. Probably let it sit overnight. Come back and figure out what I'm going to use. I'm not sure what. These are scrap pieces that I have. I got a lot of scrap from older kits. What I'm going to use for the roof pieces. Probably just have 4 roof pieces. One here, 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 here. Just glue them on. Probably use the same shingles as the house. Saying that they try to match the house. So I'll just try to get some shingles on it and paint it up and see how it looks. So, all right, more to come. We'll see how this little one-nighter kit here goes together okay, and if it looks decent when I'm done. Okay, here we go. Here's the little shed I decided to keep working away and got the roof on it. So this is where it is right now. Did make several mistakes. I think it'll be covered up pretty much with paint. In this back corner, the side wall was too short, so there's a gap there. But what I did, I had a piece of 1/32 by 1/32. I just cut it and kind of shoved it in there. You can tell. I don't know if you can be able to really tell on video, but I can tell by looking at it. But again, when you get on the layout, you probably won't be able to tell. And then this back corner is the same way. And then on the roof, it was not perfect at all because I didn't really do a lot. I just kind of cut pieces and glued them on. A little bit of sanding, and again, there was a gap here in the center, down here along the center. And again, I just came back in and let me see if I can make that look a little more visible. That might show a little bit better. Put a 1/32 by 1/32 piece there in the gap, and then sanded it. And I think it looks okay. All right, so that's our shed. Let me. That's what I'm trying to represent. Yeah, it's not perfect. This one's a little bit different, and it has a little different material up here on these pieces. And this is exactly at 8 feet because I have the instructions how to build this. Probably because that's the size of a sheet. It's 8 feet, so they kind of switched to a different material for the top. I'm not sure I'm going to worry about that and even do that. I'm just going to keep it like this, shingle it. Probably use. I have some Northeastern 2x4. I think it's a little bit big. This is probably, and I could look at the instructions, but it might be 1x3. Anyway, if I use 2x4, I think that'll look okay. To do the framing across the door. Probably do the framing up around in there. I sanded it back, so I'll probably put the framing up around here on the front side. And probably on the back side as well, I guess. And then for shingles, let me pop the exposure so you can look. These are left over from the Hobbit house, or the one house I built a couple of videos ago. But they look pretty good. So I might even be able to take one piece of it and get it to size and formed, and ba-boom, got shingles. So these are actually a MicroMark. If you can read that part number, I think MicroMark sells them. That's where they, if I recall, I don't know if I have the whole sheet anymore because most of them are on the roof. but I think they're from MicroMark. All right, so what I'll probably do is let this dry up overnight. Probably paint the walls tomorrow morning. I guess I could do it tonight if I still feel like it. Only because the trim will be a different color, and this is so small, you know, it'd be kind of cumbersome to try to paint it once it's glued on. So maybe I'll go ahead and paint the shed, probably a red color, similar to that. I'll grab some enamel paint and slap some paint on it, and then maybe even paint up some of the trim, and then try to get this thing finished up. This is probably about 3 hours worth of work right here. And again, it was just kind of, I sat down and said, I want to do it. I didn't really plan it all that well, but I think it's going to look acceptable. And this is something someone should offer as a kit, because it's a more modern, you know, type of residential shed that people would have. You know, it's a good size. It's 10 by 10. Although I didn't scale it perfectly. It's not exactly 10 by 10, but anyway, it's close. So anyway, all right. So maybe we'll see how it looks tomorrow. Okay, there it is. Good enough. I made some more errors on it, but got some of the trim put on it. Some, all of. Again, I used the 2x4s. It's probably not the greatest size, but whatever. I think it looks okay. Add a little clasp there on the front door. The darn shingle sheet that I used that came out of the other kit, see that, was too short. Couldn't fit quite all the way, and when I put it on and eased it on, I couldn't get it evenly matched, so it's way off on this side. But again, at the distance we're going to look at this thing, I don't think we're going to really see it. And you can see in there in the front, it's not very well done with the trim work and the shingles. Certainly not contest quality, but then again, that's not the point. Again, that's what I'm trying to duplicate. And from a distance, you know, when you just look at the shed, and the most visible part on the back, I added a piece of trim. I liked the way that looked better. So I don't know why. But you know, when you're looking at this thing from the distance that you're going to be, probably even way more than that, you know, I think it's going to look okay. It'll be fine. Even the front, which the doors aren't all that good. The trim certainly isn't all that good. But from a distance, yeah, acceptable. Okay. So there's my Lowe's 10 by 10 outdoor storage shed, ready to be loaded with lawn mowers and probably more junk than you can imagine. So, all right, I'm gonna get this over at the house and see how it looks in the driveway, and keep moving along over there.